Today we're going to be answering this question on quadratic equations. So it says, given that x squared plus 8kx plus k equals to 0 has equal roots, find the value of k. So we're going to be using our discriminant. You know the equation of, the quadratic formula is minus b plus and minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. This bit here, b squared minus 4ac, we call it a discriminant. So if b squared minus 4ac equals to 0, we have one repeated root. So the root is where the graph crosses the x-axis. So in this case, if it was a positive x squared, then it would be something like, so it bounces off. So it's kind of a repeat, it bounces off. If it was a negative x squared, then it would be something like this. It bounces off from the other end. So this means that is one repeated root. If b squared minus 4ac is less than 0, then you have no real roots. This would be graph like, so this is b squared minus 4ac equals to 0. If you had b squared minus 4ac, so yx, it would be something like this. So it won't be touching the x-axis at all. It has no real roots. And then you have the third one, which is b squared minus 4ac is greater than 0. So this has two real roots. So this was b squared minus 4ac is less than 0. And if you wanted b squared minus 4ac is greater than 0, it looks something like this. So it will be crossing the x-axis at two places. So this and this. And if it's negative x squared, it'll be somewhere here or anywhere. But basically, it crosses the x-axis at two locations, the quadratic graph. Here, none. Here, one, but we call it a repeated root. So here it says that it has equal roots. So basically, it's this one. So we're going to use this information in order to answer it. For those people who kind of always struggle with understanding the discriminant, this is what might help. So if b squared minus 4ac equals to 0, so I want you to link it to the quadratic formula. It means the whole of this is 0. So if the whole of this is 0, then you end up with minus b over 2a. So your x here, your root, is just minus b over 2a. So you just get one answer. If b squared minus 4ac, this one is less than 0, so it becomes a negative number. Try and do a negative square root, negative number square root. It will give you an error on your calculator. So that's why we have no real roots. If b squared minus 4ac is greater than 0, so this is a positive number, then we know that we'll have to use this bit here. We'll have to be doing minus b plus this over 2a or minus b minus this over 2a. So that will give us two answers because of this. Yeah? And that's because it's positive. Okay, so I hope that will be able to help you later on to remember the information. And then also, I want you not to just see things in just one place. I want you to be able to, your knowledge on any topic, mathematical topic, should be flowing from one part of that topic to the other. So it should be going from this to quadratic formula to sketching quadratic graphs. Okay, so let's try and answer this question now that we have our basic knowledge. So here, our quadratic formula is y equals to ax squared plus bx plus c. In this example, our a is 1, our b is 8k, and our c is just k. Using our formula, b squared minus 4ac equals to 0. b is 8k squared minus 4 in brackets 1k equals to 0. 64k squared minus 4k equals to 0. And we can put 4k outside. So if we put 4k outside, we'll end up with 16k minus 1 equals to 0. If we're trying to solve for k now, So remember your algebra knowledge. We can just divide by 4k on both sides, which just gets rid of it. So that gets rid of it. And this still stays as k. So, I mean, sorry, 0. 16k minus 1 equals to 0. Plus 1 on both sides. 16k equals to 1. Divide by 16 on both sides. K equals to 1 over 16. That is your answer. How about we check? So with algebra, I always tell my students, check, check, check. So if we check, because sometimes you could make an arithmetic error somewhere and you've missed out on things. So if we check, it said here that b squared minus 4ac equals to 0. And I know my b now is 8 times k. So my a stays the same, 1. B becomes 8 times 1 over 16, which becomes a half. And my c is 1 over 16. So a half squared minus 4 in brackets 1 over 16 should give me 0. So that gives me a quarter minus a quarter equals to 0. So yeah, my answer is correct. I want you to be able also to see what this information means. So when you're trying to solve a quadratic equation, you're basically trying to find the roots. So this information, if you don't really want to waste time in the exams, you could do this. You could do b squared minus 4ac and see what it gives you. If you get 0, then you know you have only one root that you need to be looking for. If it gives you a negative number, you know that there's not going to be any real roots. If it gives you a positive number, then you'll be like, oh yeah, you know what? I have two real roots here that I can try and find. And then that way you can decide whether you want to use the quadratic formula or you want to factorize, or the way you want to sketch, or you want to do the completing the square. Yeah. So the discriminant is there to make life easy for you before you try and solve a quadratic equation. I hope this has been helpful, and I shall see you next time.